Imagine a world lost in the mists of time, where colossal beasts roamed untamed jungles, and one epic clash between a mighty gorilla king and a serpentine titan could rewrite the fate of an entire species. Filled with heart-pounding suspense, shocking betrayals, and a miracle that defies the laws of nature itself. Dive into this gripping tale that will leave you breathless, and if you crave more prehistoric adventures that blend raw emotion with pulse-racing thrills, hit that subscribe button now for this channel. Your gateway to untold stories from the dawn of time. In the shadowed heart of a primordial jungle 5.5 million years ago, where colossal ferns towered like ancient sentinels, and the air hummed with the primal symphony of life emerging from the Eocene epoch's fading grasp, there lived a magnificent giant ape known as Kong, a behemoth whose fur gleamed like obsidian under the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. His massive frame rippling with muscles forged in the fires of survival. Magnificent giant ape known as Kong, a behemoth whose fur gleamed like obsidian under the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. His massive frame rippling with muscles forged in the fires of survival, standing over 30 feet tall on his hind legs. His eyes burning with the fierce intelligence of a king who had claimed this verdant realm as his own. But beneath that regal exterior lay a heart scarred by unimaginable loss. For Kong was not always alone. He once had a mate, a gentle giantess named Mira, whose soft grunts and tender touches had filled his days with purpose, and together they had nurtured a fragile infant, a tiny bundle of fur and curiosity they called Little One, whose playful antics brought light to the darkest corners of their world. Yet tragedy struck one fateful dawn when a cataclysmic storm ravaged the jungle, uprooting trees and flooding rivers, sweeping Mira away in a torrent of mud and debris, leaving Kong to cradle their dying child in his enormous arms. Watching helplessly as Little One's breast grew shallow, his tiny chest heaving against the relentless grip of fate, and in that moment of despair, Kong roared to the heavens, a sound that echoed across the valleys like thunder, vowing to protect what remained of his shattered family, even as the jungle whispered secrets of an ancient evil stirring in its depths. A colossal python named Pithara, whose scales shimmered with iridescent greens and golds. Her body stretching over 100 feet in length, coiled like a living vine around the trunks of mighty trees. Her eyes cold slits of amber that held the mysteries of eons. For Pithara was no ordinary serpent. She was a guardian of forgotten lore, born from the earth's primordial ooze, imbued with a mystical essence that allowed her to regenerate from the gravest wounds. Her venom not just a weapon, but a conduit for visions of the past and future. Yet her existence was cursed by loneliness, having outlived her kin in a world that feared her size and power, driving her to seek solace in the shadows, where she hoarded ancient artifacts buried in her lair. Relics from a time when apes and serpents shared a fragile alliance against greater threats. But now, as the jungle's balance teetered on the edge of chaos, Pithara sensed a disturbance, a ripple in the fabric of life caused by Kong's grief-stricken rampages. For in his mourning, Kong had begun to lash out at the forest itself, toppling trees and scattering herds, unwittingly awakening slumbering dangers that threatened all inhabitants. And so the stage was set for an epic confrontation, one that would unravel hidden truths and forge an unlikely miracle from the ashes of despair. As Kong patrolled his territory one misty morning, his massive fists pounding the earth like drums of war, he caught a faint scent on the wind, a musky odor laced with danger, drawing him deeper into the undergrowth where vines twisted like treacherous snares, his heart pounding with a mix of fury and fear. For he knew this smell. It was the mark of the giant python, whispered about in the guttural tales passed down through generations of apes. A beast said to swallow whole families in a single gulp. And as he pushed forward, the ground trembled beneath him, revealing Pithara uncoiling from her hidden burrow, her enormous head rising like a specter from the fog, fangs glistening with droplets of venom that could fell even the mightiest predator. And in that instant, their eyes locked. Kong's filled with protective rage, Pithara's with an enigmatic calm that hid deeper motives, sparking the first clash in a battle that would echo through time. as Kong charged with a deafening bellow, swinging his tree-trunk arms like battering rams, slamming into Pithara's scaled body with bone-shattering force, sending shockwaves that felled nearby saplings. But the python was swift, her coils whipping around like lightning, wrapping around Kong's leg in a vise of muscle and scale, squeezing with the pressure of 1,000 tons, eliciting a howl of agony from the ape king as he felt his bones creak under the strain. Yet drawing on his primal strength, Kong grabbed her tail and hurled her against a rocky outcrop, the impact cracking stone and drawing first blood as scales tore away, revealing glistening flesh beneath. And as Pithara recoiled, hissing with fury, she struck back, her fangs grazing his shoulder, injecting a venom that burned like fire through his veins, clouding his vision with hallucinatory flashes of his lost mate Mira, calling out to him from beyond the veil, whispering words of love and warning that twisted his heart into knots, forcing him to question if this battle was real or a fevered dream conjured by the serpent's poison. But Kong shook it off, his emotional turmoil fueling his resolve. For in those visions he saw a little one, not dead as he believed, but alive, trapped in some ethereal realm, a mystery that gnawed at his soul even as he grappled with Pithara's writhing form. The two titans rolling through the underbrush in a whirlwind of fur and scales, uprooting earth and scattering wildlife in terror, each blow landed with dramatic intensity. Pithara's coils constricting around Kong's torso, cutting off his breath in a suspenseful grip that made his vision tunnel, his mind racing with memories of Mira's final moments, her eyes pleading for him to save their child. And just as blackness threatened to claim him, Kong mustered a surge of strength, prying her coils apart with raw power, flinging her into the air where she crashed through the canopy, branches snapping like brittle bones. But the python was resilient, her mystical nature allowing her wounds to knit before his eyes, a miraculous regeneration that shocked Kong, revealing the first twist in this tale of mystery. That Pithara was no mere monster, but a being touched by ancient magic, perhaps the last of her kind guarding a secret that could alter the course of evolution itself. And as the battle raged on, the jungle seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with tension as unexpected reveals began to unfold. For in the midst of their frenzy, Kong stumbled upon Pithara's lair, a cavernous hollow filled with glowing crystals that pulsed with otherworldly energy, and there, nestled among the relics, was a sight that stopped his heart. A small, furred form curled in a bed of leaves. Breathing faintly, it was Little One, not lost to the storm as he thought, but rescued by the python herself, who had found the infant washed ashore in the floodwaters. Her venom not poison but a healing elixir in small doses, used to sustain the child through the ordeal, a heart-touching miracle that shattered Kong's perceptions, forcing him to halt his assault mid-swing, his massive fist hovering inches from Pithara's head as she uncoiled defensively, her eyes now soft with something akin to sorrow. And in that suspended moment of suspense, the truth unraveled like a coiled vine. Pithara's visions projected into Kong's mind through her gaze, showing him the ancient pact between their ancestors, apes and serpents united against a greater cataclysm, a volcanic eruption that had nearly wiped out life, and how Mira, in her final breaths, had entrusted Little One to the python's care. Knowing of her regenerative powers, an emotional revelation that brought tears to Kong's eyes, mingling with the blood and sweat of battle. But the twist deepened, for Pithara harbored her own mystery. She was dying, her immortality waning, due to the jungle's changing climate, and she had sought Kong not for war, but for alliance, to pass on her guardianship to him, ensuring the survival of both their lineages. Yet as this emotional bond began to form, a new threat emerged from the shadows, a pack of cunning, saber-toothed predators, drawn by the commotion, circling the lair with hungry eyes, forcing Kong and Pithara into an uneasy truce, their battle transforming into a thriller of cooperation as Kong lifted Little One gently, feeling the miracle of his child's warm breath against his chest, a surge of joy piercing the veil of grief. While Pithara slithered forth, her coils now a shield rather than a snare, striking at the intruders with precision. Her venom felling the leader in a dramatic arc, but not without cost, as a rogue claw raked her side, exposing a vulnerability she had hidden. The source of her power, a crystalline heart embedded in her scales, pulsing weakly, and in the chaos, Kong fought valiantly, his roars echoing like thunderclaps, protecting both his child and his newfound ally. The suspense building as the pack closed in, teeth bared in a nightmarish frenzy, until Pithara, in a heart-wrenching act of sacrifice, unleashed her final burst of energy, her body glowing with ethereal light, enveloping the battlefield in a miraculous aura that healed Kong's wounds and revived little one fully, his eyes fluttering open to meet his father's gaze, in a moment of pure emotional catharsis, tears streaming down Kong's furred cheeks as he cradled his son. But the twist culminated in tragedy and wonder, for Pithara's light faded, her form crumbling to dust, revealing she was not just a guardian, but a manifestation of the earth's spirit, her essence transferring into little one, granting him unnatural strength and wisdom, a mystery that ensured the ape lineage would evolve into something greater, perhaps the forebears of humanity itself. And as the surviving predators fled into the mist, Kong stood victorious yet forever changed, his battle against the giant python, not one of destruction, but of redemption, a suspense thriller woven with emotional miracles and unexpected reveals that bound enemies into eternal kin, the jungle sighing in relief as life continued its inexorable march, with Kong and little one forging ahead, their hearts mended by the python's ultimate gift, a story etched in the annals of time, reminding all who hear it that even in the savage wilds of prehistory, love and mystery can conquer the fiercest of foes, spanning across the eons to touch souls in ways unimaginable, where every twist and turn led to this profound, heart-touching conclusion. A tale of 5.5 million years ago that resonates with the eternal drama of existence itself.